Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
And keeping our Survivor News post-season coverage, the baby boys have reunited again. We're here with Jack Atkins, Wendeezy Holland. But listen, we don't really care about them right now. We have the man, the myth, the man who lives in the attic from season 45, Jake O'Kane. Jake, welcome to the podcast. How are you feeling?
I'm doing great. Is this baby girl meets the baby boys? Is that what this is?
Hey.
Definitely so. How has your off season been? How have you been reacclimating to life?
You know, it's been a time. I got a new job recently, so I'm going into my third week on the new job, mixing it up. I'm no longer a prosecutor. I'm a divorce attorney now. I also do criminal defense work as well. So new experiences. It's been fun though. The decompression a little bit of the show has been really cool, and then all the response from fans and everything after has been really cool. And now we're getting all this 46 stuff, which is fun.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, man? Like, I mean, you guys had arguably one of the greatest seasons that we've seen, definitely in a while. And but now, like, there's some, you know, the 46, they're coming. So, like, do you feel some kind of way or what?
You know what? Like, when I was like coming back from Fiji, I was thinking, all right, like I think we'll be smack in the middle. Like if you're ranking new era seasons and like what the fans think, like I thought we were going to be smack in the middle, but as the season kept going, I think the 90 minutes really helped us out. But you know, now 46 gets those 90 minutes too, so that's like, are we still going to be that good? I don't know. We'll find out. But like, I think we got a great cast in our season. But looking at the 46 guys, they look like they got some really cool people in there. So. We'll see. I mean, I'm happy with our season, you know, but you still want to be the best, you know, or up there.
Sometimes I wish Ghost Island had 90 minutes for real. But
I think Ghost Island gets too much crap. No, I'm not trying to placate to you. I think it's a fun season, especially if you're a fan seeing those old advantages and stuff.
Yeah. Dom should have won, but you know, that's just my personal
I'll take that.
Yeah, honestly, if 46 somehow exceeds 45, I mean, that's a great problem for the Survivor community to have.
Exactly.
We get the season calling.
And speaking of Survivor community, Jake, I'd love to know, like, what is your level of the Survivor fandom? Are you at the Brandon Donnellan level? Are you a casual fan, or do you seen the show a time or two before you went on?
Yeah, so I've seen all the seasons. I thought, like, I listened to like the podcasts and stuff too, like before I went out there, like just before I was even in the casting process. Like I thought I was a pretty big fan, and then I met like Brandon and Brando, and they're like ordering stuff off the the auction that they have at the end of the season with the props, and I'm like, I just might search Survivor Wiki every once in a while. Like I'm not buying any of this stuff, you know. But I would go to like an event if it was in Boston. Like I'd go to events and stuff. You know, not a lot, but
did you?
I would say I'm a big fan.
Were you post COVID? There were a lot of like COVID fans. Like they binged the whole thing. Were you a fan for like decades?
Oh yeah. So I started watching One World. So like what was that? 2012, and then like that was kind of like I kind of half-ass watched that, but then like Philippines, I was like all in. Like I just remember like. One of the first scenes in Philippines, it's Denise talking to Zane and everyone's in their underwear. And then, you know, Denise says something and it says sex therapist. And my dad's like walking into the room as this, these two scenes take place. And it's just like, what are you watching? And then it more became an act of defiance, right? But, but it was a great show and it just took off from there.
Yeah. And of the seasons that you've seen, you know, what would you say is your favorite? And was there a player from the past that you thought, hey, I would love to kind of emulate this player's game going in?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think, like, my favorite season ever, like, I know it's a basic answer, but, like, Cagayan. Because, like, yeah. It's just, like, you know, cream of the crop. Like, you can't really knock the season. You can't. And it's, like, I know it's the answer that everyone says, but it's, like, it's good. I mean, I never thought I was going to be like Tony, but like as a past player I always identified with like Chris Doherty. I felt like I kind of had that like scrapper kind of nature to me. So that's who, like, in my mind, I'm like, if I find myself on the bottom, which I did, hopefully I can be a Chris Doherty. Wasn't hoping to have to play that way, but that's what ended up happening.
Well, you were a scrapper out there. Can you tell us a little bit about your preparation?
Yeah, so when my preparation going in is I got like a personal trainer. I'm like, hey, this is what I like need to focus on. I got like pretty strong, at least for like myself before going out there. And then as far as like old seasons and stuff, like I just watched New Era. I wasn't really trying to like watch the old stuff and get too mixed up with I feel like stuff that's not as relevant. And then like I worked on puzzles and stuff. I felt like I was like ready to go with puzzles. It's just when I got out there, like it was like, okay, Jake, Bruce, Kendra, let's move these things. So I was like, all right.
What was early Belo like for you those first couple of days? How did you guys gel? Were you like, I'm on Survivor, I can't believe it? Or did you guys hit the beach running and like strategizing and linking up? Or was it like a full circle moment? Like, wow, I went from the attic to now I'm out here in Fiji.
Yeah, so the first couple days, like I think going to Sweat and Savvy kind of hurt me a little bit because like I was away for I think when those really like beginning relationships were made, and then like night one at Belo, I like heard all the girls talking about me like while I was supposedly like asleep. You know, we're all lined up in a row, and I made a comment during the day, something along the lines of like, "Oh, I was happy that like I didn't have to wear a suit jacket as an attorney because like I wasn't hiding that." And they're like, "Yeah, can you believe he said that?" It's like, oh yeah, whatever. And like Katora's saying something too. Meanwhile, she's got the suit jacket. She like never wore it. Like if you see it jumping off the boat, like it just got wet. She's like, it's just gross. I don't want to wear it. Wicked smart on her part. But yeah, so I was like kind of on edge, right? Because it's like, damn it, like I had a lot of experience working in restaurants, and then like my theater background, like I'm used to typically working with more women than I do men, just based on my background. So I'm like, oh shoot. And so day two, I was just kind of like, all right, Bruce, here's what I heard. I heard it's me, then Brando, then you. That's their order of operations. And he's like, we're good. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, okay, so what do we do moving forward? He's like, let me check something out. We'll see what's up with Kelly. And I'm like, okay. Like, and in my mind, like when the girls are talking, just like based off what I saw from day one, I was like, Kelly has the most winning potential out of the three women there, just based off initial impressions on that first day. Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, maybe we should try to like, you know, he's like, don't worry about it. Like, let's check this out. And he's like, comes back to me like maybe later that day, the next day is like, Jake, we're in an alliance with Kelly now. I was like, okay, all right. No, not a problem. Let's just talk about it next time. And then, you know, I'm like in confessional. I'm like, shit, like we need like Operation Get Out Kelly. So I'm like, let me talk to Brando. I'm like, Brando, how do you feel about Kelly? He's like, I feel great about Kelly. I'm like, all right, so this ain't gonna happen. But that was like kind of like I was worried that I was going home, especially at that first vote. And actually the whole time while I was there, like they showed it on the show, but like I felt like I was with Bruce, Kelly, and Brando. And then in my mind, like I thought it would have been Kendra early on because like Bruce thought she found an idol or something or found some kind of advantage. But later me and Kendra got close. But that was kind of my experience at early Belo, you know, thinking people had idols when they obviously did not. No one did. That Belo idol's still hidden out there somewhere.
So say you guys had lost, you guys were fortunate to be a very winning, strong tribe. But say you guys had lost a challenge like day 4. And we spoke to Kelly and she told us that you were, like you mentioned, you were one of the primary targets to go, especially early on before Bruce was sort of rubbing people the wrong way. If you guys lose a challenge, what's sort of your plan of attack to keep your name out of the voting parchments?
Yeah, so like my plan was like, I just need to be chill and not ruffle feathers. And I think one of the things that hurt me on later down the line is that I kind of retracted like into myself a little bit. It kind of made me feel like, okay, like I don't want to make any mistakes. Let me step back, you know, and kind of like just chill, just do the things I need to do whatever like needs to be done around camp. just be like amenable to everything, right? When I think actually in the reality, if you're in that kind of situation on Survivor, especially early, it's like you kind of want to put yourself even a little more out there, right? Like I think I did a really good job personally, like at the mergatory vote exclusively, that like I felt like I was good on that beach that day, even though I was like up to be voted out, like just really putting myself out there. This is who I am, making really good deep connections with people versus I definitely in those early days tried to be more reserved. And I think that would have worked against me come if we went to a first tribal council. But the second one, I think it would have just been let's rally like Bruce, Kelly, and Brando and see what we want to do. Because I don't feel like there was a hard line thing of like, okay, the four of us agree that like obviously Kelly and Brando wouldn't have gone with us, but like in Bruce's mind, oh, let's talk. Who do we want now, Kendra or Katora? But
So when you within this first Belo, tribe, when you're looking at these other tribes, we know Lulu was like, Lulu was Lulu, and you got Reba. When you're looking at these two tribes, are you just like, okay, thank God that Lulu exists because we're just gonna keep picking them off? Or like, I want to know what you were thinking about these other two tribes.
Oh yeah, so I mean, like we're on the boat. Like we haven't even started that like challenge on the pod yet, and we're just like, oh, they're going down, no problem. Lulu's going down. Like in my mind, like that's what I saw. I was like, I think Belo by far has the most physically strongest women out of the tribes, and I think that was like in my mind evident at that point. Like there was no way to like calculate for how good we would be at puzzles and stuff. I felt like I could do it. And then based on what like Brando was saying in the planning for that opening challenge, he obviously felt really strong about doing puzzles down the line. And with Reba, it was like you got Sifu and you got Austin and you got some geniuses over there. Like Reba looked tough from the outset in my mind. So like in our minds, we were like, we just want to come in first and like beat Reba because like. I mean, I was concerned about losing because I felt like I was on the chopping block, but it was like, okay, Lulu's doing really bad. And that makes me feel marginally better.
We saw early on in the season, Jake, you have some medical issues or like, you were passing out and then waking up. Did you ever get to the bottom of what that was? And how did that change how you attacked the game moving forward, knowing that you were having these episodes?
So like, especially like early, it added to like my anxiety about like going home because like, oh, so I'm going to be on the outs and then also I'm going to be seen as like a liability like that, like kind of like just the compounding anxiety of that. But honestly, in my life, I've never passed out before Survivor. I have not passed out since the last time I passed out on Survivor. And like, it was like a new experience for me because like, even as a kid, like kids just randomly pass out sometimes. Like I've never passed out. So it really freaked me out. But I think it was just like a combination of like the not eating, me blowing on the fire. And then like at the new Lulu one, like we were getting up to do something and I just got up too fast. But like, in terms of like the game, it's not like I was going to hide it. Like everyone saw it, Right. So it's just kind of like, shoot, what do you do about it? I try to downplay it. Oh yeah, I feel fine. And I like honestly did feel fine, but I was still like anxious about it. There's nothing I don't think there's something you can like super do about it other than like just try and downplay it, especially in the pre-merge.
How many scares did you have out there? And was there anything like notable that we didn't see?
Yeah, so you saw the two main times I passed out. There was one time where I was like off camera that I passed out. Like I just got up too fast again and I just went down real quick. Like no one else on the tribe saw it. Like it was just, a camera guy. And it was just like up, down. And like, I just bounced back up. Like it's not it. I'm sorry. What was the second half of your question?
I was just saying, like, was there anything that we didn't see and how many times? I guess another question would be, was there ever a point when they really thought like, or where you had to be talked to by the doctor and they like seriously considered taking you out?
See, I was concerned that they were seriously taking me out, but like Dr. Joe didn't seem too concerned about it. He's just like, keep drinking water, get up slowly. And I'm like, I'm not getting pulled. He's like, I mean, if it keeps happening, maybe, but like, you're fine, dude. And I was like, yeah, okay, thank God. Cause like, I was really stressed in like those moments before I saw the doctor, you know, because it was just like, I don't like, it's not the way I wanted to go. Like, I'd rather
Right.
get voted out, like, or, you know, what ultimately ended up happening. But like, it was just so nerve wracking that I was going to get pulled. But no one's it. They took care of me. They took a look at me and they're just like, hey, just be careful. So anytime I would get up and like pretty relatively deep into the marriage, it just like get up, just count to 5 before I started walking somewhere. You know what I mean? And just had to take it a little slower when I got up.
Yeah. I wanted to circle back on our man Bruce a little bit. We know obviously he's a bit of a polarizing figure in the season, but I would say of all the people you got along with him the best. And so I wanted to ask you, like, what about Bruce really caused you to click with him? Was it that like New England mentality, or was it something deeper than that?
Yeah, there's definitely like in a sense of that, like, you know, some people definitely found Bruce's humor like jarring to them, but like I don't care. I thought he was funny, and like if it like was out of pocket or annoyed me, like I'd just be like, Bruce, stop being old. Like stop acting seven. Like stop. Like I would call him the old man all the time, like Old Man River or whatever, and like it just didn't bother me. Like he reminded me of a lot of people in my life where it's like, all right, like, and you're in Survivor, it's just like run your mouth. You know what I mean? Like if you're bothering other people, it doesn't really. I didn't think it was gonna bode poorly for me. I mean, I think in some ways it definitely did, but like Bruce is a great guy and like would get along in any capacity. And I think early on I felt like especially good about him because like he was the first person to be like, all right, well let's do something about this, your name being out there, and let's make sure you're good. So it was kind of like forced just based off the numbers, but like I think any way you slice it, like Bruce would have been someone that I was close with out there.
We saw Bruce say a lot of times that Kelly was his number one, but do you think off camera and in real Belo life, like it sounds like you probably were really his number one, or do you feel like you and Kelly floated that position with him?
No, I think he was pretty like set on Kelly. I think in a way Kelly may remind Bruce of his daughter, just in some ways, just like Bruce's daughter's amazing athlete. Kelly is as well. And they could connect on stuff like that. I don't come from like that kind of athletic background. So in my mind, I did think like me and Bruce were like tighter, but in his mind, he thought him and Kelly were tighter.
Can you talk to us about the Bruce Idol hunt?
Oh, the Bruce Idol hunt. So like a couple times at New Lulu, like Caleb and I went out like looking for idols and stuff. And then like it was like the day of, and he's like, should we just search with everyone so we find the thing? And it's like, yeah, like let's all just go. And then so we walk off, like Couture's at a confessional, and Bruce is like, all right, we're not telling Couture. It's like, all right, fine, like whatever. And I don't know. I was upset. He found the idol literally right in front of me, and I wish I found it so bad because I probably would have only said something to Caleb unless someone saw me find it. But it was just like, oh, geez. It was just so close to me. And honestly kind of helped me find my idol later in the game because it was a similar kind of, obviously it's not the same beach, but it was a similar kind of tree. And like, I know where he found his. So I'm like, let me look in the similar kind of, it was like those trees where it's got like the roots kind of above the ground and it's just like hidden in there. So that actually ended up helping me later down the line. But yeah, and like, Bruce like, we're not telling Couture. It's like, all right, if that's what you want to do. And then like she comes back and it's like, let's figure it out. And so Bruce finds the idol, tells Kelly, says, Kelly, let's see how long Jake and Caleb keep looking for it. And that's when the ring thing comes out. So it was like, he already had the idol, so it didn't even need to happen, which is one of the most frustrating parts. If he had just told me, like, oh, that was a bummer.
Wow. So this part of the game that kind of showed Couture something about you. That almost didn't have to happen because he already had the idol.
Yes.
Oh.
Bruce wanted to do this game of like, Kelly, look, you're my number one. We're good. Jake and Caleb are still going. It was just like, we just all found the idol together. Why not? Like, I mean, whatever, you know?
Can you help settle a debate here, Jake?
Yeah.
On that first tribe swap, right? Now, I feel like, in my mind, they said to the production, like, hey, we're going to mix up the tribes and put them on a tray. And I feel like they gave it to somebody like Jack. And then they're like, Jack, did you mix them up? And Jack was like, yeah, and brought them out. Do you feel like they were mixed up? Because we see how it seemed like Belo was on Lulu, Reba stayed Reba. Do you feel like they were mixed up? Because I really felt like they were just all in the order and everyone just picked it. Am I crazy?
You know, I don't really know. Like, I wasn't even thinking about that. Like, my only mind going into the swap, like, we thought it was going to be a swap that day because we had seen the swap in 44, and like, we're like, okay, I think they're going to go full send on a full swap, not just kind of like whatever. Let's take one person and pass them around. And I just like, I want to do the Tyson thing, just take the last one. So I actually made Kelly pick before me, but didn't matter because it was the same thing. But yeah, I don't know about mixing them up. I assume they did, but I don't know.
Right.
You know.
Now, your preference, because you know I've never been on a tribe swap. I haven't, made it past a first elimination. But your preference, do you prefer the tray, or do you like to dig in the bucket?
That's actually a really good question. See, like, I prefer the bucket. Here's why. Is because if you get the tray, it's like, oh, I mean, it didn't really matter for me because there was one left. But like with the tray, it's like, oh, if I picked slightly to the left, I would have been here. If it's the bag, you don't know.
Right.
There's no second guessing on that. There's going to be no pain involved in that. But I feel like with the tray, like, I don't know. If I picked something and got swap screwed and then the buff right next to me I would have been safe with, I'm going to be upset about that.
Right. Okay. So you like sticking your hand.
I would like the bucket. Yeah.
In the mystery jar and figuring
Yes.
what you pull out.
Yeah. That would be my preference. Yeah. Right? Like, Wendell, how do you feel about it? You've done it before.
I've done it all. Yeah. I don't, man. Just give me one of. I don't care what it is.
Well, Jake? Did you see Jack's season? Because it was something similar to that when they made the merge.
Wait, what?
You didn't see it on Jack?
Did you merge on the circle?
Bryce just likes to give me shit, but we've been swapping for a amount of time. So, my last Bruce related question for you is: once you hit the merge and the whole game is exposed to Bruce in his ways, some people are loving it, some people are not vibing with it. Did you feel like you had to take a step back from Bruce and like let him go do his thing, or were you kind of always riding with Bruce?
It was like, I was just so bullshit. I'm sorry. Am I allowed to curse on this podcast?
Yes.
All right. I was just so bullshit because like literally on New Lulu, the five of us said, all five of us, we were like, all right, we're gonna hang back. Caleb's gonna be able to get a little more movement with him because he's like, you'd expect him to do that, right? Yeah. Like you just say, hey, Caleb was gone. Caleb was gone. Caleb was gone if we went to a tribal council, and let Caleb do his thing. Let him be told stuff. Let him try to get pulled in by someone. And then we get there. And like I said to Bruce specifically, it's something I brought up as well. I said, Bruce, it's something that I played with and he toyed with. We never ended up doing it, but I'm like, Bruce, should we get in a fake fight with one another? I'm happy we didn't do that. But it was like, realistically, Bruce and I live an hour from each other. I'm up in Boston. He's in Warwick, Rhode Island. So it's like, we do have that New England guy thing, and we're gonna be grouped together regardless. Like, so like, let's do something about it. And like the plan was, we're not gonna talk. And like I even said to Bruce, I'm like, you and me especially, we can't talk. And he's like, yep, nope, good, sounds good on the plan. And then we get there, and he's like, they're running circles around us. And I'm like, well, no one's been voted out yet. I mean, eventually they do run circles around us. But as of this point, no one has run circles around us yet. And then it was like, Caleb. And it's like, Caleb's with us. We're good. We know what he's doing. He's coming back and telling us things. We're thinking, okay, who's on the outs? And it's like, oh, you find out, okay, Sifu kind of looks on the outs. And then like later we find out the next day, Jay is definitely on the outs with Reba. And so it's like, okay, we found cracks. And then it's like at that merge feast, Bruce just like Caleb. And it's just like, oh man, like we had a plan. Like he's not, and like in my mind, like, yeah, Caleb is a big threat. And I'm like to Bruce, I'm like, Bruce, he's probably the one person here that stands out in front of you.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why? He's like, and just like, he's low hanging fruit. It's like, great. That's good. That's a good thing. That is a shield for you. And like, oh, dude, it was just so frustrating because it's like he comes back and it's me, Emily, Couture, and Kelly trying to have a conversation with him and be like, Bruce, like we need to save Caleb. Like Jay's on the table. Like, and I love Jay Maya. Like if it didn't come down to Caleb and Jay, like I would have tried to do something with Jay. Like Jay and I just really clicked out there. But it was just unfortunate that those are the two names that came up. And so like the four of us are standing in front of Bruce being like, dude, we can't do this. And Bruce is just like, it's over. It's already done. And it's like, did anyone's torch get snuffed? Like no one's torch has been snuffed. It's not over. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here, 6 Caleb, and we can have a conversation with Kendra. And it was just like, it was really like he just wouldn't budge on it. And then like the rest of the day, it was just kind of like me and Couture up until the end, really trying to save Caleb. So it was trying to push it on Jay.
Why was Bruce so dead set on him?
Bruce was really, I think Bruce was like really, really, I think Bruce got really paranoid when people weren't talking to him.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the time, you know, you think it's okay because you made a plan. Like that was the plan that we couldn't communicate with each other. I mean, here and there, it's like, yeah, like we're good. We're doing what we said we were going to do. All right, good. Like you and me and Kelly, like, all right, good. Yeah, let's go. Cool. And then it was just like not, I think Bruce got a little spooked and it was just like, it's a plan. We're going to be fine. We vote out Jay. And then it's like an additional number. Like, I think there was a lot of opportunity there, especially at that mergatory vote, but it didn't end up happening.
When you have a lot of people running around talking and when your plan is to not talk to each other, but like, all right, we're good, we're cool. I think it is very easy to get paranoid under those circumstances.
I mean, it definitely is. And that's clearly what happened. You know, I do think that maybe we could have had more one-on-one. It's just like that mergatory is just, you're so like, you don't want to seem tight. And then, you know, it ends up having like you said, has the opposite effect that I think it's also really difficult to calculate like what people in your group are going to do, especially if you haven't been to a tribal. And I think that puts us in a very, not as an advantageous situation, just because we never went to a tribal, so you don't know how the laundry list of people you're working with is going to react in those kind of stressful situations.
When you made the merge, were you making any connections with Reba? Do you have any relationships with them that us as viewers didn't see? Because it kind of seemed like you were Belo strong until it was just you and Couture. Were you over there with Reba at all?
Yeah, so like I felt like really good about Jay, and I like if Jay stayed to the next day, like I really think like Jay and I get something moving. Also, like Drew and I had a conversation that day, and I felt like really good about Drew. I think at the mergatory, it's in the pre-merge, Drew was definitely like someone who was like, oh, I don't know about this guy, but then you started talking to him, and more, I'm like, oh, dude, I really like Drew. I think Drew's really cool, you know. And Drew is someone that like I definitely had a one-on-one conversation. We were like, okay, yeah, like let's see how like this mergatory thing plays out, and then we can like, you know, talk going down the line, like, you know, just make sure my name's safe, make sure your name's safe. And also at that mergatory vote, I really want to hype up Julie Alley because she had an amazing mergatory in my mind. So she gets back from the feast, and you know, me and Julie had talks like the day before that morning, and she's like, I had talked to D. D said, let's make it Jay. And I was like, oh, all right. Okay, that's interesting. I like that better than Caleb. And I go to Julie. She's like, what's the names people are saying? I'm like, I think D had a name. If you want to go talk to D, like D threw out a name with me. She's like, I want to hear it from you. And I was like, oh, cool. It was Jay. She's like, all right, well, you're going to write down Caleb tonight. And I was like, oh, I am. All right, cool. Like, all right, that being said, if everyone's writing Caleb's name down tonight, I still continue to fight for him throughout the day. But is there something that you and I, Julie, can do moving forward to make sure that we're good tomorrow? Because I want to, like, build this right here. And she's like, write a squiggly line under Caleb's name. So I was like, okay. So obviously she's looking for the idol, but I had no idea at that time because the idol that Bruce found had nothing to do with the sacrifice of O. So I think that's really, really amazing. An amazing play on Julie's move that, number one, it showed I didn't have the idol. Number two,
because you
probably showed that I didn't know who did. Yeah. Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Mergatory? Do you like it?
Personally, I think the more options make it more interesting. I get how it might make it easier for viewers. Like, oh, you only have 6 people that can realistically be targets. Like, I get that it's more focused for the viewers, but I like the cool thing about Survivor over Big Brother for me has always been it could be anybody other than the person who has immunity. So everyone's got to kind of cover their ass. And where I don't know, I would prefer it just be not Mergatory, just be like a normal kind of merge situation. But that's the way it's been going.
It's frustrating because I'm like, did we make the merge? We all together.
Yeah.
Why we gotta separate? What's happening here?
Oh, I feel bad for like the Dwights and the Seafoods, just like, oh, you're actually in the merge now, but you're not on the jury. Like, I think that's an absolute nightmare.
Would you rather be first boot or would you rather be that mergatory vote that doesn't really make the merge and not sitting on the jury?
Look, I always say like more experience in the game is definitely like would definitely be better than being the first person like out in my mind. But like, man, that just sucks. Like from a play perspective, obviously you want to play more Survivor, but then on like the relationships after, like that's definitely like probably a tough position because you don't really get to chill Ponderosa with people, and then everyone after the merge kind of had their own experience. I just think it's like, damn, that's kind of isolating, especially where it's like people don't stay the whole time now. You know what I mean? Just go on a pre-jury trip.
I mean, from what I hear, pre-jury trips can be fun. From what the people say,
From what the people say.
From what the people say. From what I heard.
Bryce, drop a great pre-jury story.
I can't. We used to just sneak away and go like to the internet cafes. So like we still wouldn't have our cell phones or anything, but we would like sneak away and go to the internet cafe. And we lost Alexis at one point in time in Thailand. And like I literally thought that like we were gonna have to call her family and tell them that like we lost her. And literally at 3 a.m. in the morning, she comes riding up on some random guy's motorcycle to the hotel, like, hey y'all, and we like, Alexis, what WTF? So I mean, that's a crazy story.
Could you imagine the Hangover 2 recast with like Bryce, Garrett, Jatia, and
Uncle
Alexis?
Cliff,
right? Uncle Cliff. Yeah, I'm trying to think who else is there. David Sampson.
David Sampson took a private jet and flew home. He said that he ain't got time.
Did he really?
Yeah, he said he was out. Wow. He said, "Give me my passport." That he had the private jet come and take him away. I said, "Oh."
Yeah. So you're saying Alexis and y'all were at the internet cafe at 1 a.m.?
No, we were out partying. We were out with Garrett because Garrett was spending that money, and then I did an Irish, and then Garrett came back home eating pizza, and I'm like, "Where's Alexis?" And he's like, "Alexis?" I'm like, "Yo, I left you with Alexis." And so then we ran to Jatia's room, and Jatia's like, "She's not here." And so we started freaking out, and we're like, "Do we have to call our handlers and tell them like what's going on?" And so we were like, "We'll wait a little bit." Then like an hour went by, and then so we went to go tell the handlers like, we snuck into the city and we lost Alexis." And you're like sitting at the lobby of our hotel, and then here comes like this random motorcycle comes up. It's literally like 2:00 in the morning, and we're like, "What is this?" And then Alexis just gets off, and she's like, "Thank you." So that was some scary-ish. So the trips can be fun.
That's wild.
I do want to know though, Jake, what after Bruce and Kelly, you lost them. What was your game plan, right? Like, how did you feel like, okay, I got a new lease on life and now I can kind of like do my Boston thing and work my way through? Or were you in scramble mode losing those 2 huge players?
Yeah, so after Kelly goes, it's like, all right, I kind of want to break it down a little bit before that. After Kelly goes, like, I think I'm going clearly, and I'm like, all right, I'm kind of in scramble mode. Like, I'm definitely like, all right, what do I got to do? Like, maybe let me take a breather, let me chill down. Like, obviously, like the day before, I was like freaking out because like I really thought I was gone, and I'm like, all right, like let me relax. Like, let me have like, everything moving in my brain, but like, let me give this chill demeanor. And I could do that. And I really feel like the day between the Kelly and the Kendra vote was only one day, but like we get split up into the groups, and I like get with D and Drew, and I'm like, yeah, what do you guys want to do? They're like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, personally, I don't think that they want to work with me anymore. So like, I'm down for whatever. Like, what do we want to do? And I was like told by the both of them, they're like, yo, Bruce and Kendra are saying your name. So it's like, all right, like whatever. I'm down for Kendra. I think Kendra's the better move since Bruce won immunity. And they're like, all right, word, let's make that happen. And I was kind of like told throughout the day that Bruce and Kendra kept saying my name for a while, and they were coming up being like, Jake, what do you want to do? And it's like, oh, this stinks. Like, I know you guys are saying my name. Like, I didn't say this to them, but I'm like, guys, I'm good. Like, tell me your name. I'll write it down. I don't care. And so I felt like I could kind of like relax at the Kendra vote a little bit. Like, I did kind of like feel okay. But then at the Bruce vote, it was like, all right, Bruce doesn't have an idol. Then he lied to you. He has an idol. And if he plays that said idol, you're gone. And then it's like, all right, but chill, don't worry. And it's like, what? There's a 0% chance that this man is not playing this idol. Like, that is so dumb. And then it's like, yeah, just chill, don't worry. And so then I'm like to Julie, Julie, like, let's toss 2 votes on Drew. If Bruce leaves, we'll say it was him and me, you know? And then I also said the same thing to Katora. And like, that's where you kind of see like the me and Drew argument. Because like, whose names you said? Who'd you talk to? And I'm like, I don't know if Julia Couture told him. So I'm like, we're good. We're good. I'm not telling you, dog. I'm good. And, you know, it stuck because like I did feel like really close with like Drew. And it's like, damn, you're not being completely honest with me. It's like, let's not act like, you know, and I love Drew. No disrespect to Drew. Like, Drew is like one of the people I had the best times with out there. And like, it's funny because like people be like, oh, do you and Drew, like, you guys like hate each other? I'm like, nah, dude, Drew's the man. Like, I'd be like, Drew, let's talk about some philosophical bullshit. And we would for like a really long time, you know, but it's cool. You know, like what is a whole, like, it doesn't matter.
Oh, I mean, you want to have that conversation?
No, I mean, you should have Drew on here. Drew could talk for hours about what a hole is and what it is not. Or like, but that was one of them.
Let's have him and Bryce talk about that.
I think our philosophies might be a little different, Jake. But I do think you would agree a hole is a hole. But you know,
if there's one thing Bryce has studied more than Drew, it's probably that.
But it does depend on the deepness of it. But anyway, one thing that I loved about you.
What is going on? This is the first pod back, gentlemen.
Yo, I didn't bring that up. You might be able to contribute to the conversation, Bryce. That was not a point I think anyone made out there.
I'm just saying. Stop, Jake, because now you're about to have me go in.
Sorry,
but no, the one thing, so not go in. Stop. Stop before I start to leak. Jay. No, okay. I'm done. I retreat. I'm pulling out. I'm done.
You finished?
Okay.
He's finished.
Well,
Sweat or savvy. I think so right off the bat, from as a viewer, right? I didn't know whether or not I was gonna love you, Jake. I'm be honest, right?
that's fair.
But I will say, I'm being honest. Like, I didn't know. I was like, I don't know what Jake. About episode 4, I said, I'm rocking with Jake. Now, after you made the merge, I think the thing that connected me the most is because I always tell people Philadelphia and Boston, we're like cousin cities, right?
Yeah.
We are very similar, but very different. And I think one of the things that I love the most about you was something that you were just saying. When people would come to you, who you got? You always would hit them with the, well, what you thinking? Like, you never gave up information like that. Like, you know what I mean? You will always have them say a name, or you were very like Rox Roy with it. Like, I don't really got nothing for you. And so that for me, I was like, okay, I can respect Jake. I like the way that you are playing. So that really wasn't a question. That was more of a statement. I do want to know, do you feel like, who did you think was running Reba?
Yeah, so in my mind, like perception wise, like I thought that it was D and Drew, and I think to an extent they were. I think I would primarily like based off what I was seeing, I think they were the shot callers in my mind. I think in terms of like threat level, in terms of like jury, I always did D, Drew, Julie, and then Austin in my mind, just based off my perception and the time of the game. But I think where that was incorrect is I think I should have switched Drew and Julie in terms of who was a bigger jury threat. So I think Final Six is like one of the areas that was probably a misplay, and that I should have like for more than just trying to do the rock threat thing again. But in terms of Julie should have been a bigger target than Drew at Final Six.
We saw you with this big move mentality, right? Like some of them didn't always work. But I think us as viewers, what we loved about it was like, we don't want you to play safe, right? Like you're on Survivor, and in order to win, right, you have to play like you're going to win. And that might cause you to lose, but you have to play like you're going to win. And I loved your mentality of like how you would put together these big moves as like, listen, we're going to go to rocks or playing an idol. I know that you said Chris, now I'm butcher his name, Darty, right?
Yeah.
Were there any other Survivor players that like kind of help influence your big move style of gameplay that you embrace?
So it was like I know like I was kind of like, oh, he's trying to do big moves, like he's got the big move-itis, and there's definitely like a fair critique of that. But like in regards to like big moves, like I gotta say like Tony, right? Like big moves and the flashy stuff. But I think in terms of like I kind of want to because what were the big moves? The one with where Caleb went home, where who ended up going home? Drew ended up going home, and then like the final 5 vote where Julie ended up going home was like the 3 times where I tried to do something big. So it's not that like I came in the game said I want to make needless big moves. It's like the first one happened because I'm like, if Caleb stays in the game, that's going to be number one great for me because Caleb was just the person like I felt the most invested with. Like I felt like I could trust him with anything. Like Caleb and I had conversations at New Lulu and it's like, oh, we're gonna ride this out. Like we're gonna be like Dom and Wen. Like we literally talked about that, and it was just like I would rather play this game with Caleb than not. Like I didn't care about like putting all my chips in for him because like he was just someone who I knew thought about the game in a similar strategic way as me. Not saying other people didn't think about it strategically, but I think we had the same kind of instincts as one another in that kind of strategy portion of the game. And then so I was all right moving all my chips in on him. And then when it got down to the final 6 with the or if you want to talk about final 8 with Bruce, it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna just sit here and sit on my hands and hope that he doesn't play an idol. I'm not rocking with that. And then with the final 6, it was like, okay, like my win equity is at a 0. Like, how do you bring up your win equity? Like, I think just if I go along and go with Drew and Austin and we just do what they, the plan that they're allowing me to join, like, how am I going to get like any credit? It's just going to be like, oh, Jake, you found your in and just went along with it. Like, I think I should have found a way to work with Drew and Austin while also be able to show that I was a part of it. Like in that, like the strategic planning, but it was like, if your win equity is 0, like I really feel like you need something to bring it up. And like in regards to the game, like I would rather have regrets over doing too much than being like, oh, I should have done. I didn't do enough. Like, I feel like a lot of people leave a lot out on the island and they come home and they feel that way. I might have left too much on the island, but I'm much more comfortable going to sleep that way than the other.
Yeah.
I felt like I needed to do them to win. Like, I was like, I don't care about like sitting in the final 3. Like, that doesn't matter to me as much. Like, I get that's eventually what happened and I got 0 votes, but it was just like, I don't need to just get there. Like, I don't want to just get there. Like that's not interested in that. That's what happened.
I think what made you a fan favorite among like other things, like your personality and you in confessionals and everything, I think it was the fact that you just kept on trying things. No matter what happens to you or anyone on that island, you're going to keep on trying something, whether it fails or succeeds. You're not going to quit out there.
No.
So I got mad respect for that.
Thank you. And it's like I knew like after Final Five didn't go my way, it was like it's gonna be a massively uphill battle. Like I didn't think I had a shot after Final Five, but it was like I would have done anything I could. Like if I won immunity in Final Four, I was telling everyone, Couture, you suck. Me, like I don't actually think this, but like I would have just been bullshit about the vote the night before, and then when I tried to go against D, right? Like I would have tried to like do something like that again. It was like I would try something at every single stage, especially if I'm not gonna. I was just like. I'm playing for the million, you know? And I think like
Right.
if you have zero win equity, like you need to make it comparable to the people around you. And just going along and doing whatever, it's not gonna make you comparable.
Agree.
If we could talk about that Final Five tribal council and you play the idol for Couture. Did you talk to Couture prior to playing the idol for her, or was that something that you knew you had to use it, and so you're like, I'm just going to ensure that she's safe? Did she know that you were going to play it for her?
No, she had no idea. I didn't tell her. I was going to tell her.
Well, do you think in hindsight, the way that things shook out, do you think you should have told her, or do you feel like you couldn't trust her at that point not to go back?
I mean, it was kind of like two things, right? Like I didn't feel like I could trust her because like, you know, the night before, it's like with the Drew vote, it was like, okay, it was Julie or Couture spilt on the plan. Not that the Final Six plan would have worked by threatening Rax because Julie and D were close and I didn't know about it. But it was like, okay, someone spilled. Like I can't trust like my read on either one of them. So like, because Julie didn't say it was Couture, Couture didn't say it was Julie, and it was just like I didn't have win equity, so it's like I needed to make the biggest splash possible, and I thought Couture kind of had a big reaction. Like I do think like if Final Five goes my way, that reaction helps me and to say, hey, this was my plan exclusively. Like I told Austin, I was very confident he was telling D. I didn't know if Julie was going to find out. She did. Julie still voted for me, but like in my mind, it was like these are the things that I did. The Final Five was me, but the Final Five just ended up being the biggest mess of anything ever. And I like got out. I'm like, no one should take credit for that. No one made the right call. That was terrible on all fronts. This is embarrassing for everybody.
Yeah. And when it came to less about the idol, but more about getting Couture to vote D with you. I mean, I remember how frustrated I was in the sense of, you know, she asked you to swear on your grandma, this and that, and then you do, and then she doesn't follow through with the plan. Do you think there's anything else you could have done to get her on side, or is that more of a reflection of sort of the mistrust she had in you throughout the whole game, where whatever you did, she wasn't gonna vote your way that vote?
No, I mean, I think like because like I felt like Couture and I were good at like the Drew vote, and like we were pretty like good with that. And then even at the Emily vote, like we voted together, like voting Julie. Obviously, Julie played the idol, but I felt like we were sharing like information and stuff to one another. And then we said before, like literally the night before the Final Five immunity challenge in Tribal, that okay, like it's Julie tomorrow, because there was always a fear of like, oh, Julie's going to be really good at fire. Like there was a rumor that Julie was just insanely good at fire. I knew I could not beat D or Julie. I didn't have if any one of them sitting in the final three, I'm losing. So it really didn't matter who was the bigger threat there. It's like they both need to go in the next 2 rounds. And so in my mind, Julie should have went it earlier. Julie should have went at 5 so she wouldn't be able to make fire. But then like, you know, Couture's like, hey, I think it needs to be D. Here's why. And Couture made amazing arguments for it. Like she is absolutely the right call. D was definitely supposed to go with 5. And Couture spent a lot of the day convincing me. And I was just like literally in confessional being like, she's right. Like Couture is correct. And so, you know, like we didn't have too much longer before trial. I'm like, Couture, I'm with you. Like we're good. And you kind of see the exchange between me and her. So I think the only thing I would change is that like, I don't know. I think brain fog of being out there so long, like D was clearly the correct move. And I just should have got on board earlier in the day. I think if I get on board earlier in the day, it's not an
issue. We see throughout the season, like the player as viewers, the player that D is, right? We see anybody that says her name, like it's like the Godfather. Oh, you're going home. Did you guys did you see that in real time, or was it kind of like a surprise to see you that like when somebody would come after her, she would go home, and like how she was really running and had herself insulated?
Yeah, so I didn't realize like how much insulated she was until like later on. But like in New Lulu, when we're talking about, hey, we're not going to talk to one another, like we were like, okay, if we want to take a chip shot, who do we think would be a good person to like try and get out Mergatory? We literally all said D because like I feel like that girl just exudes power, and like you can see it from a beach away. You know what I mean? And then when probably like the mid merge stage, like I'm going to Drew and Austin because I think I'm getting entitled with them and Emily. And I'm like, okay, guys, like, what if we turn it on D? And they're like, you know what? I think D's stock is going down, and I think Katora's is rising. And I'm like, I disagree with that assessment. I don't think like they were trying to make me vote out Katora. I was like, I don't really, I'm not interested in doing that. And like D's stock was definitely not going down. Like I'll fall for some stuff. I'm not falling for that, but just no one was open to going after her. Like enough people weren't interested in going after her. Like the Rebas they were so in lockstep. Like it was just so good what they were able to do and how organized and unified they were able to be for so long.
If you could look at, or who do you think your game is most like in the Survivor realm?
I mean, you got to say like, I got to be like an Owen, right? Like I was literally thinking about Owen when we were out there. Like we both broke the Final Four immunity challenge, right? Like it didn't really matter for him because I think the challenge was over when he broke it. But just I feel like in the 26-day game, it's just like you kind of, the game is 26 days. Like it's different. I feel like there's a lot more people who just I think those first two votes at the merge are very crucial. I would say my game is very similar to Owen's in some ways, and different in other ways, but in terms of like positioning but still having like, I'm a huge fan of the game. Like I have the knowledge of the game. Like I have the history. I can rattle off winners, whatever. But it was just in a position where it's just like, what do you do?
Right. Your season was able to watch season 43 before you left, right?
We watched all of 43 and we watched up to the Mergatory boot on 44.
So we had this theory that, or I'm curious to know here on Survivor News, like we thought the Gabler win would have drastic ramifications on the seasons after it. Do you feel like after seeing that and going out on the island, do you feel like your antennas were more keen to like low, like people minding their business, staying to the side, not making big flashy moves? Did you find that their threat level, in your opinion, was higher, or you was just out there like, listen, it's Survivor, as long as it's not my name, I'm good?
I mean, I think like in terms of people like controlling, yeah, I didn't feel like my game really changed too much because of Gabler's win. I think, in fact, something that was really talked about at early Belo was people saying, oh, Cassidy was robbed in some ways. And I mean, like, as soon as you meet Gabler in person, like, it makes immediate sense why he won as soon as you meet him. But that didn't really translate on television. So, like, the thing at original Belo was, like, she was robbed and, like, it was fire shouldn't matter. No one cares about fire. That's kind of dumb. So it's like, even when I went to fire, it's like, oh, everyone thinks fire's dumb. So, like, whatever. Let me just do the best I can. But Wendell, do you think fire's dumb?
I'm glad you asked me that. I don't dislike fire too much. I actually like it. I was part of the second fire experiment, so I'll take it.
Yeah, but I don't think the game changed too much because of the Gabler win. I think what was more, especially at early Belo, was concerning to people was like the amount of women that just went out in the pre-merge of 44 in terms of like past seasons impacting us.
Yeah. It's wild to me that you were able to watch up until the Mergatory of 44. You go play a full season of Survivor, and then you're back in time for the finale of 44.
Wow.
Like live. It's
wow. Y'all showed up.
And then speaking of parties, I wanted to pivot. I mean, you're a fun guy to party with, Jake. I want to ask both about, after that final three tribal, you get to Ponderosa, I assume for what is one final night. Tell me a little bit about that, and then I have a follow-up to that. But just give me the rundown of when you're out of the game, you go to Ponderosa. I assume you guys are really thrown down. It's your first time seeing a lot of people that you haven't seen since they got voted out. Give me that experience.
Yeah, Jack, I feel like you'd be wicked disappointed, man. Like people were tired, man. That was late. But I mean, I stayed up like for a while. Like everyone kind of went to bed. It's like not everyone. Like a couple people petered off. I think people like staying out late. Were like obviously me, D, and Austin. Then Emily, Kelly, Caleb were out pretty late. Maybe Kendra, and it was just like good to like debrief. Like, but yeah, I just had a couple drinks, and it was just like. It's weird coming out. Like it's weird coming out. Like like you're learning everything. Like at every point, what's being said back there. And it's just like information overload. And then also on top of it, like, oh, I gotta go back home tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's really a rush. It's really a rush. So it wasn't. We had a bunch of laughs that night, but honestly, a lot of it's a haze for me. Like I remember walking back to. They had the rooms that me, D, and Austin were staying to on the side. They were a little bit separated from the rest of the jury. And we're all standing there like, wow, that was crazy, right? And D and Austin are looking to have their moment or something, so they're waiting for me. And it took me probably 10 seconds to be like, oh, yeah, no, you guys do your thing. Good night. Yeah, yo, have a good one. Like, great playing with you guys. See you tomorrow. I was like so out of it.
Having to go home the next day right after that must have been like difficult. I wish you had had that time to decompress out Ponderosa with everybody. But it's nice that you guys linked up, a week later, essentially. The other party I wanted to ask you about, you were a recipient of some SIA money this season. And you were in LA this weekend at SIA's party with a couple of the other SIA award winners, including some 45ers, some 44, 43. Tell us, I guess, about what was the SIA's party like?
Dude, it was great. Like, I'm not around like celebrities. Like the only celebrities I've met, I mean, I don't know, I don't think you'd call us celebrities, right? And then like Jeff Probst, I haven't met any of these people. And then, you got John Stamos walking around, and it's like, Jesus
Uncle
Christ,
Tony?
what am I doing here?
Wow.
I heard. Did I hear Shaka Khan was in the building?
Yeah, Shaka Khan is like now Sia's godmother. Yeah, so that was like so that was like cool. It was like really nice of her to just like let us in. It was like, I don't know. It's like see these people walk around. I go to what happened? I like shaking people's hands and stuff. I got in trouble for this with my girlfriend, but shaking people's hands and stuff. I shake some woman's hand and then I go to Carson. I'm like, Carson, who was that? She looked kind of important. He's like, dude, that was Paris Hilton. And I was like, oh.
You know what, Jake?
I don't know. I don't keep up with that stuff.
That's not hot.
No, I mean, I knew who John Stamos was.
I mean,
Shaka Khan.
Was it like an annual party of hers, or what was the occasion? Was it just the SIA money party? Like, what was it that brought?
It was Love Day. I guess she just has like a Love Day party, and it was all about the love. There was a lot of love going around. We were all wearing red, other than Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan was wearing blue, so that was like the whole kind of vibe. There was a choir there. It was amazing. It was so cool. Just a different experience,
That's so good.
That sounds so dope. I was like seeing the photos. I was like, who this man in this button-up shirt with these glasses? Who does he I was like, oh, that's Jake. I was like, okay. The girlfriend must have hooked him up with those accessories.
It was that good. I did that. I dressed myself that day, Bryce. I feel so good about that. All right, I'll take that.
I said, okay, Jake looking like he's trying to be on the 2025 Zaddy calendar. I don't know. But Jake, we loved watching you and playing. We loved watching you play. I feel like you killed it, and having you here on the podcast has been amazing. Our final question before we let you go is ring a ding ding. Ring. Hello. Hey, what's up, Jake? This CBS. Second Chances 2. You got time?
Oh, I'm leaving tomorrow. What do you want?
Okay.
Hey, Bryce, I had one more question I wanted to hit him with before we
You got a minute, less than a minute.
Okay. So, throughout the internet over the course of the season, you became known as sort of like the Survivor baby girl. Do you have any tips to future castaways if they want to become considered baby girl? What qualities do you think you possess that really earned you that title?
I have absolutely zero clue how I got the title of baby girl. I have absolutely zero clue how I'm retaining that title of baby girl. I am celebrating the title of baby girl, but I have no clue of anything surrounding it, but I'm here for it.
Baby girl. Listen, we love it. Listen, again, the baby girls and the baby boys. Jake, thank you so much. It's been truly a pleasure. And again, I have a sneaking suspicion we will see you soon.
Oof. Fingers crossed.
Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
Dot, dot, dot.